Welcome to the Vision Profiles podcast. Join us, dedicated Apple Vision Pro users, as we dive into everything from hardware and software to apps and the latest updates in the world of Apple Vision Pro. I'm Marty Gensius, a faculty member at a Midwest university, podcaster, and an Apple product fan.
And I'm Eric Bolden. I work in IT, but my interest is in finding interesting ways to share content. Currently, photography of plants and birds and panoramic sequences, and soon a whole lot more.
I'm Daniel Burkholder, a software engineer and technologist, currently immersed in generative AI and AR/VR technologies.
And I'm Dave Ginsberg. I'm the host of the podcast In Touch with iOS, and I'm an Apple enthusiast as well, and a relatively new Vision Pro user.
Well, we have something to be excited about, and I can't believe I'm this excited about something that doesn't require me to buy anything at this point. I was really hoping that we'd hear a hint of hardware. I didn't think we would get a full-fledged announcement on something, possibly HomePad, but at least something to tie the software developers to a new product line. And none of that came out. But my first read through the keynote was meh, and I had to spend more time with it, which I did because I was proctoring an exam all afternoon and early part of the evening. So I spent time watching the keynote again and adding some links in for us to talk about tonight, and got more and more excited about the possibilities of what it can do. General takes from you guys, anything you want to say? This is a point where I stop talking.
Well, I was going to say everything I wanted is in there. It's like I had a list. They checked it all off, and I think gave really good indications that yes, there will be new hardware, but they're not quite done with some of the software. But we'll get a preview of all kinds of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I thought about the things they added and how pleased you would be with some of that, because you've already kind of said what you were interested in having, and we're going to review primarily the Vision Pro stuff and what came out with Vision Pro. We'll talk a little bit about other software lines, and in particular things that kind of excited us about those software lines. Daniel, David, any general reactions to what you saw, whether it was Vision Pro or other stuff?
iPhone kind of ignored everything else. They really buffed up, and I really like to see the changes that they're doing, like on iPad with multitasking, and obviously the Vision Pro stuff, which we'll get into. I'm not crying. That I feel like they kind of the phone kind of got not a lot going on there, but also it's a really mature product. So, and of course, the VisionOS is the youngest product, so it has the most that it's going to jump. The new design, I do like it, but it will have some growing pains, as already seen by a bunch of people installing the beta, including myself. But it's nice. It'll be interesting to see once they iron out some of those weird kinks that we're seeing, and I hope they change some stuff about it, but we'll get into that.
Dave, anything?
Yeah, I would. On the iOS side of things, I actually like the liquid glass that they have on here. That the menus are translucent, which I like. They did do a pretty major update to the Vision Pro app on the iPhone, including being able to unlock it right from the iPhone, which is kind of fun to be able to do that. Then on the Vision Pro side, I just installed it just not too long ago here to do some testing, and I see that they are supporting more video on Safari, so I was able to watch YouTube TV without problems, and it went full screen, so that's kind of exciting to see that those things are working real well. The widgets are pretty cool. I think that was a cool thing to see with that as well. And then, of course, some of the enhancements with AI at Apple Intelligence and the image playground power stuff, and the Photos app was another thing. There was some pretty big improvements, including bringing it back so you can actually now find things a lot easier than you were able to in previous versions. So, but yeah, there's just so much that it's just to absorb with everything that was talked about. So.
Yeah, AI was supposed to be like Voldemort, the name that
Yeah.
we shouldn't say, and they just took that on head on. First thing, let's talk about Apple Intelligence and what it can do. I got to ask you, any reaction to Air Force One and the F1 connection?
Yeah, that was kind of wonky, honestly.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah, I'm
doing
gonna
that.
need some emojis.
Yeah, and driving an F1 car around Apple Park building on the roof, right?
Yeah. Did
Yeah.
you see the
That was still
you see
kind of
the
cool.
I'm gonna.
did
Yeah, it
you
was
see the
cool.
parking ticket scene? Yeah.
Yeah.
Where he winds up getting a parking ticket for his F1. They got to start with all of that. That's how they kind of kick it off. And
Yeah,
Tim probably had to be more of a sports enthusiast for that one than he was when he did the flag at the race, and everybody said it was kind of weak in terms of his enthusiasm about doing the finish flag at something. I don't know. Those skits at the beginning sometimes I don't know if you remember Mother Nature, the one that they did with Mother Nature coming and talking to them about environment. Some of those things can be just
Yeah.
groaners with all of that. But anyways, it was an interesting WWDC. And I think what I'd like to do is just kind of I put together some notes. You guys have them. Anything, just for iOS 26, and Dave will talk about this more, I'm sure, on In Touch with iOS on Thursdays, 8 p.m. Central Time, or 8 p.m. Eastern Time, excuse me, on YouTube if you want to see the live stream of that. The glass design, it seemed like there was a lot of potential variation for the glass design, the liquid glass. I haven't found it yet, but frankly, I've just put these things on my devices. I put the developer betas on my devices this afternoon. I haven't had time to play with it to look at variants in that, but it looks interesting. Apple Intelligence, again, they talked about it. And I think they weaved in all of the good things that it can do, or it's how it's being used. Visual intelligence, with tap to search from screenshots that are taken, revamped messages, things like group polls, conversation backgrounds, chats in cache in chats, and also spam filters. Man, I would love spam filters on my messages. I always get these messages from people saying, "You want to go shopping tomorrow?" And I generally delete them, but today I said I can't. But I did respond to one today. I said I can't, but while you're out, could you pick me up some Apple gift cards? Just kind of turning the scam back on. But I would like to see those go away completely. And hold assist, oh yes, wow, I'm gonna like that. Where it holds, AI holds, and tells you, answers the phone for you to find out who this person is that's calling you, and then you can release it for them to come. So pretty cool. Mac OS 26 Tahoe. I think there's going to come a day where it's going to be like, well, who's the 26th president of the United States? Do you know, Eric? It was Tahoe. I mean, that's how we're going to remember operating systems, like we remember presidents, in terms of that. So some fun things with that. iPhone app on the Mac, new continuity features, liquid glass UI, and then the game boost with Metal 4 and the new Games app.
Mhm.
Daniel, you're, I think, the gamer in our group. What did you think of the Games app? Both, I guess, on iOS and also on Mac OS as a gamer. Do you think it's going to move us forward in that direction?
To be honest, I kind of glazed over that part because,
Okay.
I mean, just Mac and gaming don't really go hand in hand. Not to say that it couldn't, and there's definitely progress happening. I still, I think even with all that, I still don't think of gaming on a Mac, like of a Mac when I think of gaming. So maybe that's a mental barrier on my end. But
Well, it has some organizing, having all your games in associated with an app. I went into it, I'm not a gamer. I went into it while I was proctoring this test, and it had games that I had played in the past already loaded and or connected, asking me if I wanted to continue on with certain ones of them and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, I do like the idea that it has its kind of its own little playground where gamers can hit that app and get connected in a lot of ways, including, here's some friends that play games that I didn't know played games, or at least have used the arcade app, and people that are in my contact list, and it's like, would you like to connect with them to play a game? So I thought that was pretty cool. And I think it'll be interesting because now they've got Sony involved with their controllers, and the possibility of porting games over to the Mac platform would be a winner for Mac to be able to do that.
Yep.
Watch OS, Workout Buddy, um, Smart Stack Hints, the wrist flick gesture, which I didn't quite understand that. Um, Anybody catch that in terms of the Watch app?
Yeah, it was. I think WatchOS really didn't excite me much or what they had. I mean, I need to be better at doing workouts and such, but that was a lot of what the focus was on WatchOS. But yeah, I didn't see the flicking that closely.
It was a,
But the
it
nice
was a,
thing,
yeah, go ahead, Dave. Yeah.
I said the nice thing is these new live translations that are now in part of messages. That's going across all the OSs and being able to translate live as you're speaking to really have a better experience for someone who doesn't speak your language and be able to translate very quickly and easily without having to go into the separate app to do it. That really impressed me across all the OSs, and especially iOS and iPad OS and WatchOS.
Yeah, is that going to work with AirPods, you think? Will we have a bug in the ear?
Might be able to. They didn't say anything, and this is so fresh right now, and they're only
Yeah.
number of hours ago. There's so much things that all of the sites are finding, and I'm digging through it as well. So we'll definitely cover it on In Touch with iOS. But yeah, there's a lot of great things that they've added to this that it's going to get discovered that they didn't talk about during the keynote, and I'm sure during the State of the Union, the platform State of the Union, I'm sure that they had earlier, probably some stuff was announced there too.
Yeah, I have to go back and watch those, or at
Yeah.
least watch
That
the
one's
State of the Union address.
that one's that can be tough to sit through if you're not a developer.
Yeah, well, um,
Uh,
tvOS, and I was really disappointed. There was
yeah,
not much that they said during tvOS other than, hey, we've got this new interface. We're using the glass in the menus, and here's some new shows coming out. That was pretty much the gist of what
yeah,
they had to say.
they did enhance the multiple users, so it's much easier to toggle between users because it was kind of you had to go deep into the settings previously. Now it's just like a lot of other apps that you can just go and pick a
Yeah.
person's emoji and switch between profiles, which is nice because you want to keep your menu the way you want it, and then someone else can have it the way they want it.
Yeah, I
What?
mean that's like on Paramount. I think when I open up that app, it like who's
Yeah, it has its own.
has
Yeah.
its own right interface right away.
Mhm.
So what about the iPhone karaoke mic? That's like,
Yeah, that was kind of
a
cool.
big deal.
People still do karaoke and enjoy it.
Yeah, believe it or not.
Okay.
You
If
may
you're
not
trying
like
to
it.
entertain a whole pile of kids, that's not a bad way to, cover a bunch of time.
Yeah, as long as you're not around them while they do it. Yeah. Okay. And then iPad OS, which seems to have some very cool stuff with it.
Yeah.
The multitasking, the true multitasking is interesting. The menu across the top is interesting. Dave, I think you were excited about this as I was watching the feed.
Yeah. The menuing was really cool. I just installed it on my beta iPad. I was just pulling it up right now to look. I haven't even had a chance to look at it, but it's it's really cool. The one thing that I like is the fact they now have preview. The preview app is available on iPad, so being
Yep.
able to actually look at things like we do on the Mac. And so you're seeing a lot of Mac-like things that are on this now. Customizing folders. The Files app is just a complete change from what it was before. Very Mac-like as well. And background tasks you can monitor a lot quicker. And then again, as you said, the menu bar it showed when the Pages app was open, it was like it looked like I was on a Mac. I mean, it really was pretty amazing. That it didn't that you were able to do that. So
I didn't realize how much I wanted preview on iOS and on iPad OS until it got here, and it's like it's on your phone. I had to find it and get it out of my library to put it on my phone, but it's there with the new update. And I open it up, and it's got like all my PDFs all set up, ready to work. Yeah, I was so glad that when that happened, because it's like I have to shift my thinking about I'm using preview a lot on my Mac.
me
And
too.
then it's like, okay, now I'm on the phone. What can I do? So yeah, it's that was a big add for me.
Yep.
So let's talk about VisionOS 26.
Mhm.
And the person who did the main introduction and conversation about it was Mike Rockwell, the vice president of Vision Pro Products Group. And, there were some general kinds of discussions and articles. And again, we'll have these posted. The big things are spatial widgets,
Mhm.
new personas, and spatial scenes where AI users can look around, where powered by AR, where users can lean in and look around, which upgrades the current experience. So it's taking 2D pictures and adding some spatial capabilities to it.
Right.
For those who are really into video, you have the 180 degree to 360 degree wide field of view from Insta360, GoPro, and Canon. PlayStation VR Sense controllers are now supported by VisionOS. You have the Jupiter immersive environment, which is the environment where you're on a moon of Jupiter and you're watching Jupiter go through a sun phase where it changes. And I guess that's in real time. Somebody I read that somewhere. The Logitech Muse, which I am excited about. we'll talk about some of these in more specifics. Folders are available in home view. You know, I didn't see that or hear that during the presentation. And I was going through trying to get notes together for this. And I was just so excited because and the first thing I did when I got it, the developer beta on it tonight, was to start moving things into productivity folders, into meditation folders, into spatial experience folders for some of the things that are just that or storytelling. Oh, it's gonna take some time, like it does with the iPhone. Moving things around from page to page is not easy. But still, I'm going to be so grateful when that's all there, so I know larger categories to go to find the app I'm looking for. And then unlocking your phone while wearing your Vision Pro, as David mentioned, is possible. Look to scroll. Did you get?
That's really cool. That is awesome.
Yeah, I was starting to notice
that.
it as I was using it. I was able to look and actually scroll the window up and down. I was trying in the apps in the apps app and trying to scroll through it. It did it a little bit. It's something to get used to, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's in every app or fine-tuned in every app, but the new Notes app, it works there, and it works in the Photos app.
And so, how do you do it? Since we're on that.
So like in the Photos app, if you got a long list of photos, you look towards the bottom of the page, and as you get towards the bottom, then it starts scrolling. You know, as if so it scrolls in the direction you're looking. There's probably a button to change how that works, but right now.
Well, they say,
So you look towards
Yeah. So I got a notification on it. It came up while I was playing with it and said, you can do scroll to on these. And if you don't like it, you can always change it in the settings. So there is something obviously in the settings where you can change the rate of the scrolling and things like that. And then I attempted to do it, and I was like, to me, it was like moving an object with my mind. I just could not, I kept putting my eyes on it and trying to grab it with my eyeballs, and I couldn't get it to work. I
look towards the bottom of the screen or the top of the screen as if you're anticipating the next picture showing up.
Okay,
and then
well,
it
I
will
didn't try.
appear into the view.
I didn't try it in folders. I tried it right on the thing. They said, "Go ahead and try this," and it did generate a scroll bar on the side, but it didn't seem to cause any action on it for me. So I'll have to play with it more. New control center, which is, I think, going to be valuable for us on Vision Pro. Answer iPhone phone calls inside VisionOS, which was that an ask that you had, Eric? You wanted to be able to answer calls?
Yeah, I wanted to see the whole screen, but answering calls was a big part of that. So
yeah,
I was happy to see that.
Personas.
Yeah.
You want to talk about personas, Dave?
Yeah, it's improved, I must say. It looks a lot better. I actually, when I set it up for the first time, it was a pain in the wazoo because you got to keep steady to hold your hand in front of your face to be looking at the screen. Of course, we've got the D-brand cover on it too, so you can't really see it through that too easily because you're looking at yourself in there. But I was actually able to get it done. When I went, you got to do left, look right, look up, look down, and moving around. And it worked well. It looks a lot better than it did under VisionOS 2 versus 26. So I think it's going to be a little bit better experience. It still looks kind of strange. I think most people are going to be just like they were with the previous persona. That's like, oh, that's kind of weird looking here. You look kind of weird, but it still has you smiling, and you can smile with teeth without it, and stick your tongue out, and then still is reacting just like you would normally. But I think they did do some improvements on him. I would say.
Daniel,
Yeah, it
did
looks a
you?
lot less. Yeah, it looks a lot less ghostly. Like you're ephemeral, and you have more of
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
body in it now. I have yet to redo mine, but just seeing the demo alone, it's like, whoa, that is huge. I mean, that's like a 3-point version
Sure.
upgrade, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, she's
It-
also much prettier than I will ever be in the demo. So you start out with a good base. You're going to wind up with a good with a good output. And in my case, I had just loaded the software, and Dave texted me, and I was happily moving things into folders, going, "Oh, this is so great! It's tedious, but it's great." And Dave's like, "Hey, have you tried the Persona yet?" And when that came up, was like, "Nope, don't want to do that right now." Because it's
it came right
all
up
the
as soon as the
problems.
install happened.
Yeah,
So
I
I
know.
went and did it right away.
Yeah, I just said to save for later, and Dave said, do you have time to test out the Persona? And he messaged me, and it came up in my headset, and I said, yeah. It's not my favorite thing to do, but yeah, I do have time,
So
and so.
you didn't have any enthusiasm, so I didn't want to bother you.
But I did it, I went ahead and did it. And the problem is
You set it up anyway. Yeah.
I have to put it on some object, and it's actually my studio on my studio Mac on my desktop. And then I lower my chair to as low as it can get. So it's just about eye level. And then I did take the D-brand off, because the first time I was having all sorts of trouble with it. And I thought, well, maybe it's the D-brand. I took it off. I don't know if that mattered or not in the long run. Eric's saying
I was able to
no.
do it. It wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So I took it off, gave me an excuse to clean it. And then went ahead and did it. And it went faster for me than it usually did. Once
Same.
it was stable, and the outcome made me look like a raggedy old man, not like this, like Daniel says, this ethereal kind of ghostly. I have my personas on we have a family shared photo album, one of those digital photo albums in the front room. And it rolls through every morning. It starts at 6 o'clock. I don't know how many photos we have on it, but my persona comes up, and Aileen just freaks out. It's like, take that off. And I was complaining to David, I could not make a picture of my persona. I tried to do a screenshot, and it wouldn't take it. So I don't know if that's a software thing, if it's a privacy thing. But I could not get, and if you guys can figure it out, if you can think of a way. Dave said he couldn't do it either.
Did you ask
So-
the S lady to take a picture?
No, I didn't. I
Just
didn't
ask
ask
her to
the
take a
S lady.
picture. I tried to text you a copy of mine, so you might have one from me in your texts.
Yeah, I know I've done it in the past too, but not on the new OS.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I got it, Eric. It looks very nice.
But the old one was basically a head and then two disembodied hands, and that bothered some people. This one, it goes down, and I actually get the iNaturalist, text is there, so there's more, it's a head attached to shoulders and hands. And they seem to give you a lot more options for glasses.
Yeah, and the
So-
glasses have sidebars on them now too. In the past, all
Yes,
you got were
yes.
like the little frames. Yeah, that is a pretty cool picture of you. I think of the previous ones that I've seen of you, probably more accurate. I'm going to have to try that with the S lady, because I really want to get the new one up on my digital shared photo thing to freak my wife out.
Is that how you did it? Is that how you did
Yeah.
it?
Yeah,
With
I said,
S lady?
S lady, take a screenshot. Poof, took it.
as your
So
face was up, as your person was showing.
Yeah, while I was setting it up, because I was picking different glasses,
Ah,
taking a screenshot, sending it to somebody else to look at to say, "Hey, does this look okay?" And then,
yeah.
yeah.
so how did
There
you
are
get the background in? Is that a picture or a photo that you have that you're superimposed
Um,
on?
let's see, which one did I send you then? Oh, that's one of the early ones. When you after you take everything,
Yeah.
it it just had a background because I was partially immersed, and then it said I could change the background too.
All
I,
I mean, I tried to do it from the Persona app, and you can change
yeah,
environments or backgrounds. Yeah.
uh-huh. But I mean, it just gave me that background when I first took it.
Okay.
But I was
So
taking originally when I was taking it, I was partially immersed because I like that, half immersion thing. So
yeah.
I don't know if that was it or if it's the background I have selected for when I am immersed. I'm not really sure. I haven't played enough with it to know. I just
Okay.
thought everybody got a background and it just picked your default one and plopped it in there.
But you can do it from the Persona app or the
Mhm.
Persona setup. Okay. Well, I'll try that
I'll try
after the
to.
show. And hopefully get it
The,
up. Aileen's asleep now, and so she'll wake up tomorrow morning and find the creepy old man. Uh,
So it does want a lot of light. So I got like
yeah,
a shop light
yeah.
out and aimed that at me,
No,
and I
my
used that
light
to
was
see the
actually good, and
field
I have it
somewhat.
overhead here.
Ah,
So, and
yeah.
it's
And
a
I used my two light lamps here that I use for that have on. That's because I put it on the studio, so gave me plenty of illumination. When I tried to do it on a bookshelf over on the side, there just wasn't enough light in the past. So okay,
hmm.
well, that's new, and that's
and the widgets seem pretty cool. I started playing around with them a little bit. Being able to set up widgets with a calendar, with the weather and other things, and you can put them out in places that are there, just like you
Hmm.
do on an iOS or iPad OS. I didn't spend a lot of time on it, but I wanted to spend more time on it, and I think it was a okay experience.
yeah. And this is coming out of Apple's newsroom, where it gives a VisionOS 26 introduces
Mm-hmm.
powerful new spatial experiences.
Right.
I had an interesting discussion with someone who was concerned about having so much spatial in the photography that he was concerned that if he had vertigo, how this might impact him if it's because you could see some of the movement that was going on in the demo could
Hmm.
cause him all sorts of problems with potentially with vertigo. And my response to him was that's because Apple's moving the camera. It's not you. When you have the Vision Pro headset on, your body is and you move, it's registering in your head and your head's making that correction because you don't have that same connection with what Apple has shot on video. You kind of have to make that correction slowly, and it all blends together, so it seems like it's less it could create some vertigo for you, but on the headset probably not, because your body is going to compensate for those small movements with it. But the concern about too much spatial could cause too many problems. I have you tried? Did I hear you right? Have you tried the widgets, Dave?
Yes,
Yeah. And did you
briefly.
put stuff
Briefly,
on your walls?
I started. I didn't. It was close to showtime here, so yeah, I did put the calendar, and I was able to put it. It kind of puts it in a place where you have to. I had to get used to where you can move it. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, it seems like something that could be useful. All depends on this how you can move it and set it. So I need to spend some more time on it.
Yeah, in general, on computers, I'm not a fan of widgets, but the idea of these spatial widgets, I'm actually pretty
Yeah.
excited about. Because in general computing, it's like, oh, look at all these widgets you can do, and then immediately cover it up with a Chrome window.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but in the real world, like I have like a nice clock or some photos. I can't get photos to show anything that's not a stock image or some random photo. Okay, but hey, it's the first beta, fine. Um, and not only being that the new anchoring is so nice that it will actually stay there globally, and that actually also applies to Windows too. Like, so it's really cool. I have like Windows just anchored on the wall now. Like that's really neat, and it won't auto port to you if you wanted to hold down and bring all the windows together. So really happy to see that improvement. That global anchoring enables all that too. So now people will be able to have, like a friend of mine, he has a use case where he's like, I want to be able to have like a setup at this desk with these windows, and then a setup at this other desk with these windows in a different way. And now he can actually like lock them all and make these virtual work environments.
And does that retain itself after you shut the
Mm-hmm.
device off?
Yep.
So if I come in tomorrow, I'll still have those workrooms set up.
Yep. I came into my office when I came back in, and I was like, they just kind of popped back in, and once it figured out what room I was in, and it was there.
Oh, wow.
Did it shift like ever so itty bitty baby slightly? Sure, but like that'll just get better over time because the scan is it's constantly being remapped. But yeah, by and large, it maintained its position.
What is the error of measurement in itty bitty ever so slightly?
I don't know, like plus minus an inch.
Okay. Just curious, because I never heard that length designation of itty bitty ever so slightly. So yeah, we have some other good general articles about spatial widgets and realistic personas. This is out of TechCrunch. And again, we'll make these all available for you. There were a series of articles that came out in a timeline today that occurred immediately after the announcement. So it was sort of articles that threw everything in about what happened about this product line or iPad or iOS. And so there are some good general overview articles. And then they later wrote specific articles for certain aspects, in this case of Vision Pro, and I'm sure of other other platforms too. So yeah, Mac Observer, another article. Apple officially announces VisionOS 26 with eye scrolling, spatial widgets, expanded shared spatial experiences, and more. Dave, I think I interrupted you.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
I want to just touch a little bit on enterprise because they did mention some enterprise enhancements, which is something I'm interested in with working in the enterprise. The big thing was with the team device sharing. So now you an employee can actually securely transfer eye-hand calibrations, vision prescriptions, and accessibility settings between Vision Pro and iPhone. So now you deal for shared device environments. So you're going to start seeing this now that they've got this enhancement. You might start seeing some enterprise companies looking into potentially doing Vision Pros, in the enterprise at some point, because it's definitely going to be something that they can really get in on with these devices. The other thing that there's a number of things. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I interrupted you. Sorry. No, I was gonna say, paired with improvements to SharePlay too, I think you will start to see like in some like engineering offices, there'll probably be like a slate of them that you go and check out, hop in, you go look at the model on the car or whatever, and then it's lean into enterprise, please, because that usually is a good indicator of the product being how to say, I don't know, viable in the real world, I guess, not just for watching content or gaming, but like getting some actual real work done that you couldn't do before.
Yeah, I was pleased to see what they had to say about enterprise, and I thought of you, Dave, immediately, and also Daniel, because I know he works kind of in that field and working with teams. So explain the difference between the two for me, because Dave, you talked about you'd have one device with multiple profiles on it. Um, and that would be the device that you would then share around with a team or something like that. And then the other thing that I saw was multiple devices. They have that picture of the two people standing in front of a blown out engine or something like that, both looking at it with headsets on. So how do those two different things work from what you can tell?
From what I can tell, it just seems like the enhancements they did with this device. It's called device pooling, actually. That having to be able to share devices that easily between all employees. That they're, like you said, they showed that vehicle that was the blown out. What was it? It was a blown out rim or whatever it was when it
It was
came
like
out.
a
So they
wheel
can
hub assembly.
wheel hub. That was it. Yeah. So uh, that is one of the big things. The other thing too is the camera and sensor control would kind of probably fall along that, I would think. Extending main camera access, and then apps can access a live external camera feeds, even selecting specific cameras like left, right, or both, and then coming onto regions with interest with stabilization, because they did mention like even Insta360, some of the cameras there that the Vision Pro could connect to that camera and be able to help enhance, looking and viewing things like that.
Eric, any ideas about this?
No, the idea though that you might be able to have settings stored on an iPhone to restore it, that's got really nice possibilities over being able to have a second setup that's there for a while that you can, keep reactivating for a guest user. I'd love to be able to have something where, if you have an iPhone and you've used a Vision Pro, you just have your settings.
Yeah.
Yeah, and going back, I mean, I've got it on my 16E already. I don't know if you could put it on yours yet, Marty, but that even the liquid glass, so it's got the toggle between the what's going on this week to the Vision Pro, and then it brings you back to the menu. So that's kind of cool the way they did that, because the way before with the old version you had to swipe around to get to it.
Yeah.
But for the ability of being able to unlock your iPhone from the Vision Pro, I think is
That's big.
pretty cool. It's big, because that was always the problem when you'd go like this and you can't even see it, and then you're trying to fumble around trying to put your passcode in, and it isn't very easy. But this is great to see with Vision Pro and the iPhone, and enhancing it to be able to do things more, just like the apps. I mean, I still wish the App Store had a little more improvements. I started going through the App Store a little bit. They did some improvements in that area, but I think it's still. I would like to see it very similar to like we deal with on the iPhone or the iPad, being able to the App Store, be able to get to these apps very easily. Because right now you can't, because it shows what's new here and what's new here, and then not just, you have to go through some hoops to get to like what you purchased, and then you can look through all yours that you've already purchased. But you want to be able to look. I mean, I like the way that the App Store works on iOS and iPadOS, because you can flip through all those apps and be able to get to them and look and see and be able to decide, do I want that? Do I not want that? And instead of going through these, I understand what they're trying to do. They want it to be more visually pleasing on the Vision Pro, but I still would like to be able to have the option to be able to look at like a list of apps,
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Daniel, any thoughts?
I was just, well, yes, lots of thoughts. Some useful. I was thinking about the whole the co-located AR experience, as they call it, and I was just trying to think, playing that out a little further, and even in the little example of looking at the exploded wheel hub assembly and all that. Um, with I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about the Insta 360, 180, and 360-degree video support. I'm thinking I could see a near future of real co-located meetings, collaborating, but like with the whole room, imagining like a Insta 360 camera like in the center of the room, and then meshing that with the headsets on and what you're seeing for like finer detail, and then just being able to walk all the way around the room, right? Like not just potentially one spot, right? Like taking in additional data to really put you in that room. Like you could actually literally walk around it if, of course, obviously in your physical space you have the room to do that. um, but I don't know. I'm just trying to like thinking of that out more. Like that'd be really cool. It really would be like popping you in, teleporting you in there into that space.
Other thing with Enterprise was the protected content API for your eyes only, is what they referred to it as. A security that says you can lock down certain content. That important in enterprise situations?
It's hugely important. I work with the protected content all the time, and we use this god awful app that does it right now for PDF files to protect it. Something like this could easily enhance it. And somebody going out and looking at proprietary data and looking at forms and such that are protected, being able to do that. There's a lot of hoops we have to go through with that kind of content working on an iPad. When because you don't have that confidence of encryption of those documents, and not having the ability to be able to forward them to other people, because you can't forward these PDFs to anybody else, and it's locked down. So having this security is huge. I mean, every enterprise wants to have that secured feeling of being able to secure the data to what they use and what they need to keep secure. And having this as far as Vision Pro goes, and the VisionOS is huge.
Cool. I thought it would be meaningful, particularly thinking of even if it's HIPAA related data from a medical standpoint, healthcare,
Absolutely.
all of that. And imagine, we've seen people doing surgery assisted with Vision Pro headsets on. And now they have the potential to lock down any related healthcare information that shouldn't get in the hands of other people.
Right.
But the information would be helpful for them when they're doing whatever procedures they're doing. So,
Yep.
Let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk about Logitech's Muse VR stylus. I started to salivate when they showed this. I didn't actually know what I was going to use it for, but it was like, ooh, I gotta get me one of them. And kind of got anxious because I wanted to continue to watch the keynote, and also wanted to start to find out where I could buy one. And I had to wait till the end of the keynote to look and see if I could find it. And it's not out yet.
Right.
But it's very cool. And I read that there are styluses. Daniel, you might know about this. There are styluses for Meta and for other headsets that are accompanying those kinds of headsets. Do you know anything about that?
Logitech does have, or rather did have, and it may be the same one. they did have a like spatial stylus. I remember it being talked about maybe even last year, because somehow I have the idea. I remember last WDC, thinking, oh, wouldn't Apple Pencil support in the Vision Pro
Yeah.
be interesting? Again, same kind of with you. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but I also want this Logitech Muse as well. But yeah, I do remember there was something. Maybe it was for, and I know Logitech made it.
Yeah, it was like an MX or something, because when I started searching for it, it was like MX stylus for Meta. Was the kind of stuff that I was finding, but nothing that was Apple related.
Yeah, that sounds right. And it's probably the same, really, if I had to guess. But yeah, I would really like one too. I don't know what I'd use it for. I was just trying to think of what I could use it for, and actually, I've been talking about building a deck in the back for a long time. I don't know, that would be kind of fun to go and like in spatial like draw out the blueprint. You know what I mean? Like, and then like kind of sketch in the real world my deck and like really visualize it. Like, I don't know, something like that could be fun and cool. Actually, even like, you know, a lot of people, 3D scanners are far more common now. And I see a lot of people making like their own car body flares and styling through that too. Being able to like draw and sketch on that in real space would be interesting. I don't know if this tool is that sophisticated enough for how you'd want to do that, but still just the idea of it is like, ooh, like give me, I want to play with one when one comes out for sure.
Yeah. And I guess the way we'll find out about it is probably it'll show up in the Apple Store. Or somebody on Reddit will let it know. David?
Well, I can let you know right now, because I just searched for it, and this is the press release from Logitech directly. I just put it in our guest chat here in the show, and it says it's going to be available later this year. They don't have specifics as when, so we're going to have to wait a bit. It seems like it gives a lot more detail about the device, because they obviously didn't really talk much about it during the keynote, so other than mentioning it. So definitely something you'd like to. I think this is good information to check out.
Yeah, actually, I just opened the site up, and I'll put the link in. Thank you, Dave, for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
But I noticed that it's investor relations is the top. Yeah, so this is about a press release for investors to say, hey, this is the cool stuff we've got coming.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to find. And when you would go to Google search it, it would say, "Do you mean Logitech mouse, not Muse?" And I said, "No, I want Muse."
Yeah. Right.
So I just put a Logitech Muse, and yes, use that for Vision Pro.
Yeah.
And voila.
Nice.
Okay. Eric, do you have thoughts about it?
No, but when it ships in probably September-ish, I could see ordering one.
Yeah. What are you willing to pay for it? That's the just to find out.
I'd say $100 at least, maybe $150.
Oh, yeah. If it's under $250, I think I'd still consider it, but I'd want more details.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Daniel?
I think 100 to 150 is. I think that's reasonable, and I don't think it would break 200.
No, it's a stylus. I mean,
Yeah.
Even when I buy Dell styluses for laptops, I mean, they don't even the good ones. They're only like $60-$70.
And at the end of the day, it's just a thin VR controller, and which are pretty common. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a Logitech stylus for an iPad. They made a crayon for the iPad, and I bought one of those.
They're not. It's not great.
It wasn't. But it wasn't expensive either.
No, I was like $50.
Yeah, and for the purpose that I was going to use it for, which is basically just writing, on the iPad that I had, it seemed to work fine. Yeah. So I'm not expecting a real high-end price tag on this. I think if it gets above 150, people are going to go, what?
Yeah.
And I don't expect Logitech to really put out an expensive device. Not to say they create cheap devices; they have good devices, but
They
they
have good
always are
pricing.
moderately priced. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they're not in the Apple price range generally.
Mm-hmm.
So my guess is you'll see these briefly on a shelf in your Apple store.
Mm-hmm.
If you happen to stroll into an Apple store, or probably through the Apple store online, or directly through Logitech, or maybe even on Amazon, which would
Yep.
be kind of cool too. That was a neat part. Now, also Sony has got their eyes on us, or should I say, we have their eyes on them. And PlayStation VR VR2 controller support comes to Apple Vision Pro with VisionOS 26. Daniel, you said you were less than thrilled about this. But this article kind of says it's going to maybe bring in big name VR games to Apple Vision Pro. That currently the MetaQuest 3 and PlayStation VR 2 have some of those. So, and there's another article in here somewhere where this is another article by Engadget where they list off some of the games. No, it's not in this article, but I read something where it was some of the games that they had talked about potentially porting over or being able to port over.
Mm-hmm.
Is it worth the money to do that for Vision?
Well, that's hard to say because the market. I mean, I feel like gamers are. I feel like the general gaming audience is pretty price sensitive, and also generally very anti-Apple. So I don't think many of them are going to look to this as a VR gaming headset, even if some of like the more popular titles were brought over because of those reasons. But I will say that there being first party, even though it's third party, first party partnership for VR controllers instead of something like the Surreal Touch, which is, I mean, they did work, they were functional, but a lot went into those to work as opposed to more traditional controllers that are headset tracked, and these are much more, how to say, attainable. I think opens the door for other manufacturers of controllers to come out and be supported. We'll probably see you will see more people doing VR gaming through the likes of wireless Steam VR. I mean, I will definitely give it more of a shot than I have in the past once I can get my hands on these and they add support for them. An interesting part, though, about adding support for these right now is that you can't buy them. You have to
Right.
buy the whole thing. You have to buy a PSVR 2, which to be fair, it's like 350 new, like 200 on eBay. I was checking earlier. But you have to buy the whole kit, even if you're just going to use the controllers. Now, they will eventually sell them at the Apple Store. They'll probably do it later this year for sure. But that'll be an interesting little roadblock to people adding support for these in the interim. But there was some other interesting things I thought about these controllers that I didn't know. They have like finger detection as well and haptic feedback, so we could start to see some experiences that do involve the controllers that would give like, and I don't want to say just like force feedback, but there's been how to say, you can play with the haptics to simulate different textures and feelings and what you're picking up, or the gun trigger that you're pulling in the game, and you could so there's a lot you could do with that, and it'd be really interesting to see. And I do think it's kind of funny. It seems like Sony's giving more time to Apple for their VR stuff than their own VR stuff. But yeah, so I'm tempted
Well,
to
is
get
it
a pair of these just to have them on hand, ready to go, but not really much I can do with them yet. So
yeah, and plus, well, you'd have to still buy the whole device just to get a pair of those.
yeah, I might do that actually, because then there's like a little $60 dongle box you can buy to hook it up and do wired PC VR to it. And so I figured maybe I would do that. So like it's something to have on the side, where maybe like the Vision Pro isn't appropriate to do VR as much. Um, like maybe if I'm doing like a sim racing thing, like I don't need this huge heavyweight thing on as I'm turning my head and looking around. I'll use that headset instead for that game. But
It's going to be the new Sony F1 VR game
I'm fine
with
with
the
that
release of the movie.
as long as Craig is in it with his big anime hair, I'm good. That was some big anime hair.
One last thing that I caught a little bit of, and I had too many things going on in my office. I was listening for Mac Eyes Only, was trying to listen to the keynote. I had people stopping into my office, but I saw, and it's listed here, new Adobe app for editing spatial video. Did you
I saw
catch
that.
that about Adobe providing some tools that are going to be available on Vision Pro, which I think is amazing. Well, I don't know if I'd call it amazing. It's just like, how did we get there? I think
Say
it's pretty
amazing
cool.
Adobe.
David, I use a lot of Adobe tools.
I know.
I use Audition, I use Premiere, and those are my go-tos. So
I understand.
they have Eric, they have DaVinci on do they have DaVinci? No, they have it on the iPad. I know that, but I don't think it's on.
Yeah.
It is on Vision Pro. Do they have any video editing on Vision Pro?
I thought so.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I mean, like Final Cut, that's not on Vision Pro, but with the Mac Virtual Display, it's almost on.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting. I'd like to see what Adobe comes out with for editing spatial video. And I'll have to go back and maybe run that down, do some searches and see what they're talking about with that. They do have Photoshop now on iOS. And is it also on iPad that they have like a Photoshop Lite version that you can do things with? So, old enemies are becoming friends again. Maybe, who knows? As long as they, as long as they play nice, and they both make money, I don't see where they're going to complain about it. Jupyter environment was the other last thing. Okay, so we got a new environment. You get to be on Jupiter's moon. Like if you're not lonely enough wearing the headset by yourself at your house, remind yourself that reinforce it by being on a dead moon. Yeah, so new environments. I know Eric likes the partial immersion stuff. I've never worked in environments, so. So when we go to Macstock, are we going to do maybe a shared headset experience of watching movies? Because that was one of the things they demo, where you can
that would be kind of cool. Even if it's
sign
just an
in
immersive video.
Yeah. We'll have to play with some of these new tools, and get to share them when we're at Macstock.
Yep.
Do we want to talk about apps?
I think we're getting deep in
Time?
the woods
Yeah,
here now. Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting into. I want to talk about one. Oh, go ahead, Eric. What are you going to
Oh,
Yeah,
suggest?
go ahead.
well,
Go ahead. I'm fine with it.
okay. I was going to say we could save it because at some point I want to come back and talk about story, but I haven't had a chance to play with it yet.
Yeah, and you had some contact. I didn't hear from them, but you had some contact from the story people. And so maybe we'll either get them on or we'll talk about their app. I had contact on this first one, and we had Andrew Hall on our show early on, and
Yeah.
he contacted both of us and said, "Hey, there is a new version of Starship SE Core." So I went in today and looked at the app and then realized I hadn't updated it. And then I went ahead and did the update, and it's got some nice additions. The concept here is that you are kind of creating your own little Starfleet as a systems engineer. And your job is to help develop these ships, considering and taking into consideration all the aspects that go into engineering. And he has at least 3 different ships to develop. You start with a smaller, easier one. The new version provides all new requirements, function, and systems relationships to allocate the functionality and make the allocations see traceability between objects and see the new reports and metrics view. It extends the model-based systems engineering content in the app. And so it's kind of a neat app, particularly if you've got an interest in or have a background or excited about some of the Star Trek stuff. It puts you right into the position of being a systems engineer designer, and it would be worth it. It is free as an app, so I'd encourage you to kind of download it and take a look at the new version and give Andrew some feedback. He was kind enough to contact us and remind us that this new version 3.0 just came out 2 days ago. And I said we'd mention it on the show. So I wanted to get it in this show. And then maybe we can
Cool.
talk about story and some of the other apps on another show.
Nice.
Yeah. Any other comments on that? It's Starship SE Core. I think there is an iPad, iPhone, and Apple Vision version of it, so you could check it out on any platform. But the Apple Vision gives you some nice spatial aspects to it. So
Very cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
So let's wrap up then.
All right.
Where can everybody find everybody? David, let's start with you.
Sure. You can find me at In Touch with iOS at intouchwithios.com. Marty and Eric both join me every week. It's been just a blast having you guys on. And you also can find me on Tuesday nights on Mac Voices Live with these two gentlemen as well, and many others. That will be tomorrow as we're recording this. So we're going to be talking about this all over again tomorrow, of course. And then
I don't know.
on the Friday, I know. So we're
You
talking
don't know
about
what Chuck's going to throw at us.
We're talking about 3 times this week.
Yeah.
And well, actually 4 if I count Mac Show. Yeah, because and then we'll also I am on the Mac Show on British Tech Network on Fridays usually, as well as you can find me on Mastodon and on Blue Sky at DaveG65. Thanks guys for having me.
Daniel, have you got yourself a Mastodon account yet?
No.
Or Blue Sky?
But would you believe I have a Blue Sky?
Yay!
So everybody gets to be my first followers, and there's nothing on there. But the Blue Sky is IO Expander.
IO Expander.
Mm-hmm.
That's a follow
At bluesky.com. or Bisky, as I like to say.
Oh yeah, because you can have like custom. Actually, I should make because that's actually a domain I have too. So I should actually self-host my own little Blue Sky thing on there sometime.
But right
Oh,
now it's
there it is.
IO Expander. There you are.
Mm-hmm.
Follow back.
There you are. Oh, you already followed me.
Yay!
So
apparently I
yeah,
have 5 followers, but I don't know who they are. I click it, and it's just one random bot woman.
No, you got Chuck and me and Eric and Marty. And then Blue
Oh,
Sky.
oh, now I do. Neat.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and you're going to continue to do your wonderful work that you do with the job that you do, and it's good to have you on here to kind of give a developer slash engineer slash gamer perspective to the whole thing. So IO Expander at bluesky.com. Eric, where can we find you?
I am in virtual space. You never. Well, actually, now with the new add-ons, I can get stuck to a wall someplace and never escape. I can be found on Blue Sky at EA Bolden, and Mastodon at EA Bolden at techhub.social, and then covering, of course, all the OS bases. Newly with the year number following everything. So VisionOS and Vision Profiles on Monday with all of us, and then Tuesdays for Mac OS with Mac Voices, and Thursdays rounding out the week with you and Dave on In Touch with iOS. So, and given that we have all of the regular OS stuff plus all the developer OS stuff, this is a big week for everything.
Yeah. This is the first time I've had to really follow it to the degree that I have followed it in the past, because I wanted to get as much as I could together for the show, and appreciate all of your contribution with the show and with ideas around it. You can find me Jencius, Jencius at bluesky.com, or at Jencius at mastodon.social. Monday nights here with Vision Profiles. You can catch us on YouTube at youtube.com/at Vision Profiles and catch the live stream. We had Cletus in there tonight, and we had Chris in there tonight from the Old Mac Gang. And so it's good to have folks in there, and occasionally they get into fights or good discussions, and that's always fun to watch. It's fun to watch people in disagreement and have different opinions. Tuesdays with Chuck Joyner on Mac Voices at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, you can find that feed on YouTube or pick it up later. Wednesdays, Old Mac Gang is a podcast I do. Thursdays, I do try to do a podcast in the afternoon, Tech Savvy Professor, and then, of course, with Dave Ginsburg on In Touch with iOS. Like Chuck, very long-running show, lots of effort and lots of good work and information there every week. And then occasionally Friday mornings on the Mac Show. And that's fun because we did Keynote Poker. And I kind of think I did pretty well. I don't know, Dave. I haven't going to let Patrice figure that one out. But I think I hit it pretty well.
Anything's possible.
We'll see. Friday morning. And you can find all the shows that I'm involved with and links to the ones that I'm on at thepodtalk.net. That website contains that information. Let's briefly talk about MacStock. MacStock is a conference that many of us are going to July 11th, 12th, and 13th in Crystal Lake, Illinois. That is north central Illinois, if you want to say that. And lots of great speakers that are going to be there. 31 days. We're doing a countdown clock. And you can get a weekend pass Friday through Sunday. It also gives you access to the virtual pass, so you can go back and get and look at the sessions again if you want to. You get a $50 off discount with the code PodTalk50, and you can go ahead and register for it. Great folks presenting. Katie Fox and Doc Rock from Ecamm will be there. Brian Flanagan, authors. Jeff Gamet, Dave Ginsburg, of course, will be there. I'll be there with my son and Mike Schmitz, Allison Sheridan, Brittany Smith, Brett Terpstra are all on the docket to present, along with Kelly Gumont and two new presenters, Mike Burke and Chris Cook. And again, Jill McKinley is coming back to present again. So some really great folks in terms of the presentations there. So take a look at the website, macstockconferenceandexpo.com, and get in touch with us. If you want to, you can get in touch with us by emailing us at visionprofilespodcast@gmail.com. If you want to join us as a guest, or maybe you're the developer of an app and you want to have some time to join us as a guest and talk about it, we can set that up. Our bumper music is Free Jazzy by Steve Combs, courtesy of the Free Music Archive. Learn more about us and the Vision Profile podcast at our website, thepodtalk.net. Spread the word to other visionaries. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.